there's this place on the outside coast of southeast Alaska called Noyes Island, and it's this just wild and rugged and austere place. I mean, and we had an experience there, spring of 1973. I still remember it, because spring basically on the outside coast, this is April, and it was still like winter. To travel out to the outside coast, it's like the closer you get, the more wild it seems. I mean, it's a day-and-a-half journey there. And as we got close to where we were going to spend the night, a place called Steamboat Bay, it seemed like the trees were more twisted. You know, the shores were rougher. I mean, you could tell the ocean was right around the corner. Well, we laid in Steamboat Bay waiting for just an opportunity to go out and fish, because what happens when you have a cape that sticks out in the ocean is that the wind accelerates past the cape, and then you have tide going past the cape, and capes are notoriously bad places. So 2 days we waited, and at night, as we lay in our beds in our small fishing boat, we could hear trees falling in the forest. Plus, it was cold. We have a diesel heater in the boat, use a diesel. It could barely keep up with the cold. So fortunately, we had a dog, and our dog would jump up on the bed at night and sleep with us and keep us warm. But to get up early in the spring, this is before the long days of summer. So you'd set the alarm for 5 o'clock. It would be pitch dark, and you'd have yourself a hot breakfast and put on all your warm clothes and pick up the anchor. But I mean, talk about screwing on your courage. I mean, to get out there and just the first grim light of day coming on, and those big rollers coming around the point. And we had a 32-footer. Most of the boats there are 40, 50 feet. So, I remember going out there and thinking, ooh, I don't know whether I can handle this. And of course, you're worried about a wave coming through and breaking out a pilot house window. But once you get out there, and once you get back in the fishing cockpit, and there's a few fish coming in, and you realize, whoa, I guess I can do this. And, some of the other boats would wave as they go by, but, by 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you'd be just beat. Just the staying upright, and then handling the fish and handling the gear. And then plus, sometimes getting back in is worse than getting out, because if it's ebbing really hard and you got those Pacific rollers coming in, you got to go through this wicked tide rip to get back in there. So, I remember just pulling in back into Steamboat Bay, and it was all you could do to just eat a hot meal and get back into bed. Of mine, he fished that in an open skiff, and I mean, those guys were really tough. I mean, he had a 20-footer, and he was out there. It was a little later in the year, but they would camp on the beach, and he was out there, and he said he just looked around and realized it was starting to get pretty nasty out there, and he realized, I guess I shouldn't be here anymore. And he was just getting ready to turn around when this wave came over the stern, filled his boat just like that. It's just an open skiff. And the first thing he did is he had these 2 steel railroad wheels for ballast. He threw those over the side to lighten up his boat, but at the same time realizing that he was probably done, because his boat was going to sink. Then out of nowhere, this big salmon troller appeared and threw him a line that he could tie onto his boat, and the salmon troller went ahead slow, just keeping this guy's bow up so he could bail the water out and get his engine going. But the amazing thing was, he said, Joe, he said, I looked around just before that wave got me, and there wasn't anybody in sight. He said, it was a miracle.